Děkuji moc krát. Bohužel já nemluvím tak dobře česky, protože já jsem se narodil ve Švýcarsku, tak já potom budu mluvit anglicky. Co znamená 3 different time zones. To znamená EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa, US, LATAM a APAC. Trošku ode mě. Moji rodiče utekli v 68 z Česka do Švýcarska. Já jsem se potom narodil ve Švýcarsku, já jsem vyrost ve Švýcarsku, študoval těž. A prostě poslední 20 roků jsem robil hlavně multinacionální velké projekty. Velký zákazníky, co pracují na celém světě. Těž farma jako Fering, CSL Behring, anebo v Kataru jsem dělal consulting pro Ministry of Health. Co vám chci říct, jako co je důležité, když jste v change management, nejde o change, jde o results. So já furt propaguju jako result-driven approach a vy potřebujete customer-centric skills, znamená každý zákazník, co vidíte vlevo, co jsem pracoval, funguje jinak, má jinou kulturu, jiný lidi. A když děláte change management project nebo business transformation, to je furt two-way communication. To není propagovat ten change, ale hlavně hear the customer, voice of the customer, slyšet, co lidi vám řeknou zpátky. A vy potřebujete collaborative skills, to znamená lonely fighter nebo ten, co sám chce nějak bojovat, to nefunguje. To je hlavně důležité, že máme taky stakeholder management, to znamená stakeholder je ten člověk, co má part v tom projektu. A na konci si myslím nejvíc důležitý je enabling the teams and the individuals. To znamená, hodně lidí v projektu nevědí, jak se to robí a potom my jsme tady, aby jsme jim pomohli. So now I have to switch to English, so I'm sorry about that. So I think the takeaways for today are 3 things. So why are we do change? So why is it relevant? Why is business transformation relevant? And then I will talk about why are change management or business transformation projects failing and how can you change them to make them successful. And at the end I would like to tell you what is the real essence about the change. So if you look on the left and on the right, on the left we have the macro impact. So sometimes people ask me in the projects, so when are we going to be back to normal? And I say, well, actually never, because everything has changed since 2020 with the so-called pandemic. And, you know, the situation doesn't no longer exist as we used to be. So we had, the world was before, we called it VUCA. So like volatile, it was uncertain, it was already complex, and it was already ambiguous. But now we are really moving to be more brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible. What does it mean? It means that nowadays things become very brittle. Maybe today you have a company which you think it's going well, tomorrow it's chapter 11. We are in a constant fear. So the propaganda always gives this anxious, you know, today is maybe, yesterday was Corona, today is climate change, tomorrow it's something. To tell the people, you know, how to understand the change, then it will work. And also think about trust. So, you know, break down the barriers from silo thinking and move to true value-based collaboration. And last but not least, proper communication. Because people only want to, you know, people only hear what they want to hear. So you can repeat the communication many times, everyone perceives it differently, right? So even if I thought in the team or a person, let's say in Broadmeadows in Australia, you know, having a workshop on MS Teams, repeat again, because people sometimes say, so why are we doing it? You know, what's the vision? So here is about team effectiveness. So when you do new target operating model, it's a lot about roles and responsibilities, and it's a lot about the way we collaborate. So you need to have a common sense and the ground agreement about these 2 things. Trust is super important because trust means also that we have a consistent action. And information, I would really recommend to hire a professional communicator, someone who knows which channels to use, whether it's, intranet, email, town hall, but not like mails and then something goes behind and someone gets forgotten. And commitment is important, and of course psychological safety. That means our ground rule in the workshop was everyone can speak up, even if you have negative comments, you won't be fired. We really need to have the bottom-up approach to hear your voice. So what's the ideal state? Is it all laissez-faire? Is it full control? I think it's somewhere in the middle. Now, when you are in the project, suddenly you have a meeting and you feel like there is sabotage or there is frustration. But what is the cause? So, for example, when you have frustration in a meeting, because we don't have resources. There is a lot of resistance. Yeah, because management forget about rewards and incentives. So what you see on the right is only the syndrome, the outcome, right? But the cause is mostly related to lack of vision, lack of shared understanding, skills, etc. So always look behind what's really going on. Now I think what is very important is some companies put like their vision on the wall and say, these are our 10 points and let's do it. And you need to change your mind because otherwise we won't achieve our goals. Well, you cannot change other people's mindsets by telling them to do so. This will never work, right? So don't make the mistake to, operate on the mindset and operate on the behavior. No, what you need to do is first change the way we work. So focus on the context first, right? And then focus on the behavior, because that will change automatically. If employees will be encouraged to act more autonomously, because you change the context by roles and responsibilities, the way we work, the behavior will change. And then they will be encouraged to act more autonomously, like, they feel more autonomous, and they will perform better, and then you will achieve your objectives. So that's really the takeaway from this speech, really focus on the context. Don't blame the people, blame the context. So quiz. Strong leadership is an important factor in successful transformation, and it must apply that the strategic transformation is not planned in years, but must succeed in quarters. Because we are in the middle of a major transformation. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who disagrees? We have 1, 2, okay. Actually, it's correct. Why is it correct? You will fail miserably if you follow that statement, even it's coming from a top 10 leading consulting company. Why? Because we have a déjà vu from China. In China, 1958, the Communist Party to decide this big transformation plan, everything on the same time. They pushed, planning, investigating, executing at the same time. And this resulted in starvation. Almost 45 million people were dying. So what's the learning? It is actually humans do not follow orders. And do you want to make an order, or is it the market who decides? So what you need to really think about is the difference between this agony and the inner attitude of the person or of the employee impacted. So, as I said, if we can put down the decision levels more to the site level, more to the local countries, and allow them to make decisions, then people will also be happy to take responsibility. Again, change the context. And that means that you will succeed even in different time zones when you are only with MS Teams connected to the people in US and Australia. So what unites us in those big transformation projects? So the first thing I would say is you need to take risks, right? So without risks, there is no action. Trust makes the person really blossom and become better and more efficient. And you need to take actions. Sometimes I have the impression you are in a meeting, someone goes to a flip chart, And I call it a shit show. Because again, we are result driven. You know, we need to take actions and not just talk. So, you know, we don't work because of work. There should be a meaning. Control, that's an important part. Some people tell me, oh, I'm a victim. I cannot change because, you know, those people in the US head office decided something and I cannot, I mean, I have to do it. Yeah. But you can always control your reaction to it. So you're not a victim, but this is where the power lies, is how do you react to things you cannot change. Integrity is very important. Tell your manager, please walk the talk. Don't just, you know, show PowerPoint, but really be a role model. And for me, trust is super important because it's a personal choice. You know, I don't know you, but in a project, I would fully trust you from the beginning because I think that's a deal with the unknown, right? I totally give up control, but it's a bet I make. It's completely irrational, right? When you trust someone you don't know. However, being worthy of trust is valued by the employee. And I think that is very important when you work in 3 time zones, to really value people from down under. Because the Australians always feel like someone, you know, having a conf call at 11 p.m. or 6 a.m., it's always crazy. So the conclusion is you can really manage an organization, but you cannot manage people. So I would really recommend that you take more courage and more risks. So happy collaboration.